everyone, welcome back. If you are new here, I am Stephanie and this is Simply From Scratch, and here on this channel I like to share with you guys a variety of different recipes that I make for our family and things that we enjoy. I have been sick for the last actually just a little over a week now. We went to Atlanta to for my husband's job and to visit family, and I don't know what we picked up, but the whole household had been sick, so it's taking me a little while to get back to feeling somewhat normal, but I'm starting to feel that way. However, this week in Florida, it is going to warm up really quickly. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to make several different salads that we can enjoy for lunches, to make them quick and easy, because again, we're not 100% just yet. So having those grab and go things would be really helpful when it comes time to eat. We have just been kind of doing our best, having super simple meals like sandwiches, hot dogs, sometimes soup, just, you know, on occasion I can throw in a meal if I had the energy to do it. But now that starting to kind of feel the spunk come back a little bit, I thought I'd go ahead and I'm going to share with you guys three of my, not my top all-time favorites. I have a lot of favorites. I guess when I call everything a favorite, I just like food and I like to eat a variety of different things. And so these three salads I really enjoy. They are some of my favorites. And so I thought I'd share that with you guys. So let's get cooking and let me show you guys what is entailed in those salads. Okay, so for our three salads, we're going to have a variety of different ingredients. The first one is going to be for like a Santa Fe salad. And so it's going to have corn. We're going to add in avocados, we're going to add in black beans, some jalapenos, the tortilla strips, and then I'm going to be making a ranch dressing and turning it Southwestern style, so I'll show you guys that in a little bit. The second salad is a broccoli salad. Now I had this at my mother-in-law's house and I loved it. So it has broccoli, cherry tomatoes, has cheese, mayonnaise and vinegar, I didn't pull that out yet, and then just some sugar, salt, and pepper. And it also has a red onion now and bacon. And it did call for raisins, but I don't put raisins in things, like, so I'm leaving those out. And the other one is for a sun-dried tomato pasta salad. And that's just going to have sun-dried tomatoes. This type of pasta, and I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce that one. So it's very similar to, let's see. Very similar to this one in the shape and size, and so I'm doubling this because I'm going to do some of it dairy free and some of it not. It does have Parmesan cheese, and I just realized I did not pull that out, but I'll get that out when I show you guys. And it also has fresh basil. Hopefully you guys can see that. So these are the three salads. Now I've got some protein thawing. I've got some pork and some chicken, and hopefully we'll get to that just a little bit later, but for now we're going to start putting the bases of these salads together. So let's get cooking. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is get my pasta going, just because I need it to cool down for the sun-dried tomato pasta. So I'm going to add in both boxes, or packages I should say, of pasta. And again, these both have different names, but they have the exact same shape. So this was a recipe that, I forgot to add a little salt to my water, so let me go ahead and add that in there. That was at a local eatery in Atlanta, and they had closed down the Atlanta location and went back to Houston, I believe it was, or Dallas. And I actually emailed them to ask them for the recipe because it was our family favorite, and so I wanted to be able to surprise my family one 4th of July and make this for them. So with this sun-dried tomato pasta recipe, we're going to start the pasta first, like I said, and then we're going to get the sun-dried part going as well, because this does have to cool as well before we combine everything together, because you don't want to heat the basil or the cheese that goes in it. And again, we're going to do it in two separate ones because my daughter loves this one but can't do the cheese, so we may use some of hers in it, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see how it's tasting and what she thinks as I get a little bit closer. But like I was saying, this salad, they gave me the ingredients list without giving me measurements, so I just kind of created it based on the ingredients and just kind of played around with it. So I will write the recipe below, but this is not the original one because again, they made it on such a large scale, and I told them they don't have to share the exact measurements. If they could just give me the ingredients, I could figure it out from there. So I feel like this is as close as we could get to the sun-dried tomato pasta salad that we used to all enjoy. And so it's a great one for summertime. It works any time of the year, but because it's supposed to be in the upper 80s this week, it's going to be a really warm week. This is like perfect for just lunches. It can also be for a dinner one night if we're still not feeling great by the end of the day, and it's just easy to pull it out and eat it and throw some grilled chicken with it, or even some marinated pork, whatever we want to put with it as a protein, we can do that as well. So while the pasta is boiling, we're going to go ahead and get the base put together for the broccoli salad, and then that way it has a little bit of time for those flavors to kind of develop. Okay, before I get going on the broccoli salad, I need to do actually the sun-dried tomatoes. So I've already added 1 jar. This is just julienne cut. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, and it's 8.5 ounces. My other jar was opened already and some of it was taken out, but that's okay. I'm just going to add this in here, and we're probably only going to add, since we already have 1 jar in, we're going to just add in just about 1/2 of the other jar. I think that's going to be plenty for the double batch of pasta salad. So, because this is going to infuse a ton of flavor. So what I'm also going to add is a touch more olive oil, just because I want just enough to cover all of the sun-dried tomatoes. Now, if you buy sun-dried tomatoes in a package, you can just add in olive oil, and you want just enough to cover the tomatoes. And we're going to just turn this on low, or I should say a medium low, but this is my smallest burner that I have, so it won't get too hot. And to this, I'm going to be adding in a teaspoon or so, about a teaspoon of garlic, minced garlic. And you can use fresh or you can use the already chopped, it's up to you. And then I'm just going to be adding in about a teaspoon of red wine vinegar. And then also a teaspoon, about a teaspoon of white vinegar. And measure it, I'm just eyeballing it, but for yourself, definitely measure it. And then we're just going to give this a quick stir. And then we're going to let this heat up. And we're just going to let it warm through. We just want to be able to, you don't have to do too much. When you buy sun-dried tomatoes in a package, the point of putting the oil in there is to infuse the oil with the sun-dry, which is why you warm it up. Because this already came with oil, we don't have to warm it as long. We're just going to go ahead and warm it through, so then once it's done and the pasta's done, we can drain this, pour this on top, and let them both cool together before we add in the rest of the ingredients. Now to it, I am going to add just a pinch of salt, because we're going to taste it later, and then the Parmesan cheese is going to add an additional salt. So you don't want to go too heavy on the salt in the beginning, just because the cheese is going to add salt to it. And so add a pinch of pepper, and that's probably about a half a teaspoon of salt and about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And so I'm just going to let this warm up for a couple of minutes while the pasta is finishing up. Okay, so my pasta is done, so I'm going to go ahead and get it drained. And now typically with pasta salads, sorry, automatic sink here. You want to let your pasta cool down right away. You know, a lot of times you can do it by, sorry, my sink is motion sensitive, so the steam triggers it every time. So a lot of times you want to pour cold water over it. I have found with this pasta, even cooking it for 10 minutes, doesn't always get it quite done. Okay, and because it's not always quite done at the 10-minute mark, I always taste it. A lot of times what I'll do, instead of cooling it off, I'm gonna pour the sun-dried mixture over it, put this back on the stove and cover it with the lid, and then let the steam finish cooking it all the way, because you don't want to overcook it, but I have found that doing that just seems to help it a little bit more. So we're just gonna try it real quick and see. It's super hot. Not quite there at 10 minutes. But doing that trick, you could leave it in the water a little bit longer, but I have just found that by doing this trick, it actually helps it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the pasta into the pot, and then we're going to add in the sun-dried tomato mixture. So I'm just going to get it all in here. All right, like that. My sun-dried tomato mixture came to just a slight boil. Hopefully you guys can see that. That's all you're looking for. So I'm just gonna give it a stir, and I'm gonna pour all of this on top. And I wanna scrape out the inside. As you can see, there's still some little pieces of the sun-dried tomato. And garlic, you wanna grab all that as much as you can and put it in here. Now here's the thing, if for any reason time you're done assembling this you feel like it needs more oil, you can add some more, but I never felt that it does, so I feel like this is good, but you could always add more if you need to. So just giving it a good stir, coating all the pasta, and I'm going to put this back on the stove and then cover this with a lid for about 5 more minutes, and then I'll take the lid off, and then I will let it cool down from there. Okay, so for the dressing for the broccoli salad, while the tomato one is cooling or steaming for another 5 minutes, I'm going to get 1 cup of mayonnaise measured out, and this is going to be for the dressing. Now, the recipe my mother-in-law gave me was for 1 head of broccoli. I actually have 2 packages of broccoli, but I feel like I don't know that I'm going to double the salad dressing recipe. I feel like we're going to start with just 1 single batch for the dressing part, and then I'm going to then I'll just check and see as I toss it and decide if I want to add more. I don't think I do. The salad has really good flavor. What I don't want to do is I don't want to completely drench it in dressing and then have that be too much. So we're going to play around with this recipe just a little bit. Now I will make sure to link it below so you guys can check it out, and then you can decide for yourself. And I'll, in the original recipe, put the raisins as well. I love raisins, but I don't want them in the salad. I just actually didn't eat that part. I ate everything else of it, but not the raisins. I don't know why, but I'm a little quirky like that. I like certain things, but I don't like them in things. It's really weird. My best friend laughs at me all the time because I'm just kind of funny like that. So to the mayonnaise, we're going to add 1/4 cup of sugar. And then we're going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. All right, and I'm just going to give this a quick stir, and then we're just going to set this aside so that way the sugar will begin to dissolve in the vinegar and the mayonnaise. And so now I know my mother-in-law made this like the night before and didn't dress it until right before the party, which you can do. I think that's another reason why I don't want to double the batch, even though the rest of the ingredients are double, is because I don't want it to become so coated down with the dressing. So I think a single batch will work just fine, but like I said, we're going to test this out and we're going to see. So give it a good mix, and then I'm just going to get some salt and pepper. Now she doesn't have measurements on it, so we're just going to do a pinch of salt a pinch of pepper. Just taste it and see what works best for you guys. Everybody's salt intake is a touch different, and so and everybody's taste buds are a little different, so you may want a little bit more or a little bit less, but always just start with this, just a pinch, and see where you go from there. So the dressing's done, so now we're going to just quickly assemble the ingredients. Now I've got a large bowl, and to that bowl, now normally I would buy a head of broccoli, but the bags were on sale, and that just actually, if you can open them up, make it a touch easier to do. And so I'm going to go ahead and get the broccoli in here. And then I can tell that there are some large pieces, so I think what I'm going to do is actually just take a knife real quick. Oh, there's a timer for the pasta. Let me check the pasta, and then we'll finish up with this. Okay, so I just checked the pasta, and that 5 minutes of steaming with the lid on worked. It is now done, and so now the pasta is not overcooked. It's just right. It's just perfect for what we need. So now we're just going to let this cool down, and as soon as I get done with the broccoli salad, we'll transfer this into another bowl. That will help because it's still in the stainless steel pot. That heat's going to keep going, but for now we're just going to remove the lid and go on to the broccoli salad so we can get that one done. Okay, so like I was saying, now that that's off, I'm going to go ahead and just cut some of these pieces, make them just a touch easier to eat, and they don't have to be super tiny. You can do it however you want. You can leave them big, but some of these were quite large, and so just going to go ahead and cut a few of them down just to make it a touch easier for us. Okay, that'll work. Now on to the second bag. And this is going to make quite a bit. And so this can be, again, this is just a double recipe. And so there'll be just probably 2 of us that eat this. I'll probably pull some of it out. And so my other daughter, I'll add in her cheese. So before I add in the cheese, I'll do that. And then she can enjoy it as well. So there'll actually be 3 of us that eat this. Okay, and just be careful when you're cutting it. You don't want to like shred your broccoli where then all you have is almost like broccoli crumbs, but that will work. And this bowl is not big enough, so I am going to go get a bigger bowl because this is not going to work for tossing everything together. So let me go grab that and I'll be right back. All right, back the bigger bowl. So in goes the broccoli. And actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some of this and put it back over here. That way this is for my husband and I, and this can be for our daughter who has a dairy allergy. Our other daughter won't be able to eat this because she cannot digest vegetables like this. It's too hard on her system, and so she won't be able to eat it. So this way it splits it up and we don't have any go to waste. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to chop up the bacon. Now I think in her original recipe it calls for 6 to 7 slices of bacon. When I purchase bacon, I actually will cut the package in half and then freeze individual. It's not that it's necessarily giving you more, but it makes you feel like it because you're taking 1 slice like this and breaking it into 2, so you feel like you're actually getting 2 slices of bacon versus 1. And so it seems kind of silly, but my grandmother used to do that, especially when they didn't have a lot of money and money was tight. And that was her way of stretching it. So you got some bacon, but you just didn't have a whole lot. All right, so just a rough chop. Now I will say that if you like crispy bacon, some of this bacon will get soft once the dressing is added to it. And so you're gonna want to just keep that in mind. So if this is a salad you make for friends or whatever, you can then you know, keep the bacon out until right before serving as well. Or if you want to have it for a while, you know, just maybe don't add the bacon to the bowl and then have it where you add in it just at serving time. So we're just gonna take some cherry tomatoes and cut them in half and toss them into the salad. I know you guys can't see that bowl, sorry. I think I've said this in other videos, the way this kitchen was designed, we didn't build the house, someone else did. It's a big island, but my workspace is only so big right here. And so eventually I need to try to figure something else out, but I have limited space right here on this island. So hopefully, sometimes I can get things into the camera and some things I cannot. So go ahead and add in some cherry tomatoes. And I'm not gonna use this entire container for this, partly because I wanna have some of these tomatoes to snack on. So that way I can eat them with hummus or with homemade dressing, and it just makes for a refreshing snack. Because again, with the heat, I'm gonna be a little crazy already. It's February, and so it's gonna be a bit much to roll into those temperatures. And so I want some easy, cool foods for us to enjoy, because I've got to get out and start prepping the garden to get it ready for our plants. So, okay, now to this, we're also gonna add in a red onion. And I'm just going to add in, I'm not gonna use this whole thing. It's way more than needed. The original recipe doesn't have, I don't believe in, actually it says a half a cup, I'm sorry, I just looked at it, I have it written down. A half a cup of red onion. I feel like that's a lot. It's just a personal preference. I do like red onion, but I want a good balance of flavors. I don't want an onion to overpower, because if you're not careful, they can absolutely be so strong that they overpower everything. And so I'm just gonna dice it up small. And this is probably gonna wind up being a quarter of a cup, so I'm gonna half the original recipe. And again, this is double recipe. It's just that it is a strong, my eyes are already burning, you can tell that it's a strong onion. So I'm not gonna add as much into each one. And I still think it'll be just fine. I don't think it'll be an issue at all. And so the last ingredient to go in is the cheese. So I'm gonna add in the cheddar cheese in this. Oh, my eyes. I'm gonna add all of it into our bowl, and then I'm gonna get my daughter's cheese and add in hers. So this is her dairy-free cheese. And so I'm gonna, oops, it's ours. Just add in a handful. Let me bring her bowl over here. All right, I'm just gonna add in a handful of her cheese as well. And then that's it. And so I'm going to get just a little bit of this cleaned up before I add in the dressing, just because I'm running with a little bit of craziness going on right here in space. And then I'll get this cleaned up, and then we'll add on the dressings, and then these two salads are done. Now we are going to need that cutting board again, so I'm just going to set some of this aside because we will need it for the next salad. I just want to get some of this cleaned up just a touch, so that way you guys can see it just a little bit better. Okay, so now I've got my two salads and I've got my dressing, and so I'm gonna go ahead and pour a little bit onto here. I think that'll be plenty for that one, and the rest will go onto here. And again, if the sugar hasn't completely broken down yet, it will. Just give it more time. And if you're gonna do this for a party or for an event or something, you can always just make the dressing the day before. So I'm gonna stir the one that has the dairy-free cheese in it first, just to make sure I don't accidentally get any regular cheese into this one. Okay. And then this one, we will taste it in just a moment, but then that one's mixed up. And then we're gonna get this one. And so, like I said in the beginning, I only wanna do a single recipe of the dressing and then taste it and see how it is. And this way, by just doing a single, I can kind of get a feel for what I'm looking for. And if I need to make another batch of it, I will. It's easy to do. It's those simple ingredients, but I feel like this is gonna just coat it just enough where it doesn't become too overwhelming, but then gives it another flavor. And keep in mind too, like if I wasn't doing a separate dairy-free one, all of this would still be together. So it's just kind of eyeballing and getting a feel for which salad needs how much on it. So if that makes any sense at all, I don't even think it does. I'm sorry, you know, like I said, feeling a bit better, but not 100% yet. So you don't mind me, because sometimes I don't make any sense at all. So, all right, we're gonna try it real quick and see. Definitely has enough salt. Might almost have too much. So I think what I'm gonna do is, it does need just a touch more, but I'm not gonna do a full. I'm gonna do like a half recipe for the dressing for this one, and then I'm gonna try hers and just see. Hers is just fine. It's just this one needs just a touch more because there is a little bit more salad in here. So I think, you know, like maybe 1.5 recipes of the dressing, if you're doubling it, would work great. Or if you like a lot of the dressing, then you can just go ahead and double it up, and that's fine. This is, again, was to just try it out and see, because this will be in the fridge for several days, and so I want it to all be able to hold together without getting soggy. So, all right, let me make that up real quick, and then we'll get this. Since I'm only gonna do half of it, I'm just going to mix it all into my measuring cup. And then I'm not gonna add any additional salt right now. I might add a little bit more pepper, but it was pretty salty. And keep in mind too, cheese has salt in it. And so that could be contributing to some of it as well. So that's why I said you gotta taste it and see. Almost about a cup, half a cup, excuse me, of mayonnaise. And I'm just gonna add in 1 tablespoon of vinegar. And then it's just gonna be 1/8 of a cup of sugar. And so I'm just gonna do half of my measuring cup here, because it's a 1/4 cup. Set that aside there. And then my pepper. And I'm just gonna do another pinch of pepper. And then we're gonna mix this up, and we're gonna get this tossed in. And granted, it's not gonna have time just yet by the time I toss it to have that sugar completely dissolve, but it will be dissolved by the time I have this for lunch. Because again, I'm making 3 different salads. All of these will hold really well in the refrigerator. The Santa Fe salad, we're just gonna be creating like the base of it, and then you'll add it to your lettuce and your protein if you need a protein for it later. And keep in mind, this can be completely vegetarian if you just leave out the bacon, or if there is a vegetarian bacon, I'm not sure of that, but you could just leave that out and you'd be totally fine. And then if you need it to be vegan, you could just use a vegan style cheese in it, and then you are good to go. So, and of course a vegan mayonnaise as well, because all mayonnaise, unless it's vegan, has eggs in it. So you can adjust this easily to what you need. So okay, I think that's much better. So I will make a note of it the next time I make this to do just 1.5 batches of the dressing. But again, you can decide how much works for you guys. And so that is plenty. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a taste real quick and see if I need any more salt or if it's good on the salt. It definitely doesn't need any more salt. So that really, really helped balance that salt out. So these are done. I apologize. I'm gonna get these in containers, and then I'm gonna move the sun-dried tomato one over to here and to clean this bowl out and let that cool, and then we're gonna move on to the base of the salmon. Okay, so I'm gonna get all of these into a container, and so that way, I took my daughter some of the broccoli salad that has the dairy-free cheese in it, and she loved it. She was like, I didn't know I like broccoli. She's like, but I really do, it's really good. So that's great. To get her to eat a new vegetable is awesome. She's 21, but she was like me as a young kid, where I was very picky about food. Even though I loved food, I was very picky and I didn't want certain things. And so she's coming around though, she's getting there. So there's a lot that she's actually eating now that she did not eat when she was a kid. So, but that's great. So this will definitely be on the rotation for us during the summer. And so, which I love because I like to have a lot of variety when it comes to certain things. So here is hers, and it's all done. And then I'm just gonna put the lid on it. And then I'm gonna get ours into just a bit larger of a container, and then put these in the fridge, and then we're going to move on to getting the tomato pasta out into a bowl so it can cool completely, so we can get the basil and the Parmesan cheese into it, and then that one will be done, and then we'll just do the Santa Fe, and that's it. It's super simple. And the proteins, that's up to you guys on what kind of proteins, if you even need a protein with it. You may not, you know, these are simple, easy salads that don't take a lot of time to put together, and they really don't need anything else to go with it, but you can always add to it if you want to. Okay, so my salad is now done. This is the broccoli one for my husband and I to enjoy throughout the week, or however long that it lasts. And then I am going to get all of that mess cleaned up. That way we can move on to the next one. Okay, now I'm gonna give it just a good stir, and it's still warm. It's cooling down for sure. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all of this and set it aside, and then we're gonna work on the Santa Fe salad base, so we can get that going as well. All right, so for this salad base, it's gonna take corn. Now, I bought some fresh corn, and I'll show you what I'm gonna do with it, but you could use frozen, and then I'll tell you what to do with that if you buy frozen or can of corn. I've got one jalapeno. I won't use this whole thing. I've got two avocados, and then I've got a can of black beans. And so I'm gonna get this opened and get this drained, so then we can set this into the bowl. I am also not just going to drain them, I'm going to rinse them too. Probably should have said that in the beginning, but it's been a little while since I've made this salad, so alright, so I gave my black beans a good rinse, and I only typically make this salad in the summertime just because I like to use fresh corn with it, but it can be made any time of the year. I'm gonna let these drain right here, and then we are gonna move on to the corn, just because with this corn, sometimes if I know I'm gonna be grilling out at night, I will take the corn and grill it on the grills to cook it, and then that, because it adds another depth of flavor to the salad. And so, but since I am not, I'm just gonna throw this on my gas stovetop. And so I don't oil it or anything. You don't want to do that. What I'm looking for is to just cook it and char it enough on the stovetop. All right. Okay, so it looks like we got a little bit of a bad spot here. Go ahead and get the rest of this off. And I'm just going to cut that off so we don't have to worry about it, because the rest of the corn is perfectly fine. And I only bought 2 ears for the salad, so I want to make sure. Corn is one of my favorite foods to eat, especially in the summer, especially just whether it's grilling or boiling it, butter and salt. Growing up in Wisconsin, there were a ton of cornfields, and there would be stands that we would stop and just get a dozen ears of corn, and that would be our dinner. So, okay, we're gonna get this on the stovetop. I'm gonna show you how I do it and get this cooked up. But before I do that, I'm gonna get this cleaned up really quick just so I don't have all of the corn silk in the way. I need to get a heavier cutting board so I stop sliding around, or remember to stick a wet towel underneath. If you take a clean, wet washcloth and stick it underneath, it'll prevent that from slipping all the time. I just don't think about it until I slip, and then I'm like, oh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my gas stove, and I'm just going to put the corn on top of it. You want to make sure, if you can, use a stainless steel tong when doing this. You don't, obviously, a lot of them are coated in rubber. You don't want to use that. And I'm just going to let them cook on here. This is a quick, easy way to char the corn without starting your grill, unless if you have a gas grill, that's probably an easy way to do it too. We do not. We only have charcoal, and so I don't want to fire that up just to do these 2 ears of corn. Now, if you buy a can of corn or a bag of frozen corn, you're just going to take a frying pan, add a little oil to it, and then heat it up and then cook it in there. And you'll just want to char it to where you get some black on it. So this is what I'm going to do here. This will take a few minutes. This is a cold salad, not a hot salad. So you do want to make sure that the corn is cooked. You're going to hear some popping with it too. Just be careful not to hurt yourself. If you have only an electric stovetop, I have done it before where I put just a touch of oil in a pan and then put the kernels, the fresh corn in that, and just let it cook on each side until it browns up or cooks through. It's up to you, but this is just how I like to do this salad. Okay, as you can see, the corn is starting to char. Now, it will cook, as you can see, on the open flame, or if you do this in a pan, either way. But this is just kind of what you're looking for. That nice char flavor adds a little bit extra to it. The other thing I just remembered, again, it's been at least a year since I've made this, is that we need to char a poblano pepper. And thankfully, I still have 3/4 of one in my refrigerator. I knew I was forgetting something. I just couldn't remember what it was, and it just dawned on me. I had seen this idea for a recipe years and years ago. I don't know where the original link is. I will look for it to see if I can find it, because I always want to give credit to those who created the recipe. If I can, I will link it below. If not, I will just put down how I altered and created this recipe. But after we get the corn done, I'm going to set this aside, and then we're going to do the poblano pepper. Now, typically when you roast it, you want 1 whole pepper. But again, it just dawned on me that I had forgotten. So I'm going to use what I have, which will be totally fine. And so this is what I'm looking for. The nice little char on it. This is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and let this one finish up over here, and pull this one off. And while this one's finishing up, I'm going to get my poblano pepper. As you can hear, it's really popping. And so you just want to be careful because some of the juices will pop out at you. Not a whole lot, but it could. So you just want to always be careful when you're working with something like this. And so this is good. I'm going to stop right there with this one, put it aside, let that cool a little bit before we pull the corn off. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw what poblano pepper I do have onto the open flame as well. And the same thing is going to happen with this, is you're going to start to char the outside. Now if this was whole, you're going to char it, get it nice and black, and then you're going to cool it down real quick with water. And you can even put it in an ice bath, and then you're going to pull off that outer skin. And so this is what you're looking for. You can start to see a little bit of the char on there. That's what we're going to do with this pepper. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do the same with our jalapeno as well. I don't normally do that, but you know what? Why not? I'm right here working on one, might as well work on another one, or just see what it does. Normally I will just chop this up about maybe a quarter to half of it, depending on how spicy it is or how spicy I want it. Okay, so the peppers are done and hot, and so typically you can put these in an ice bath, but we're going to skip that part and just run cold water over them. And you can see when you do, the skin peels right off. Now that pepper is still really hot, so you want to be careful. You want to try to get as much of the skin off as you can. Sometimes you're going to have a few spots that may not peel as well. It just means it doesn't get charred. It's okay, but this is what you're looking for the roasted pepper. And this is the jalapeno, and then here's the poblano. And I did go ahead and do that edge as well, the best I could for holding it. So I'm just gonna go ahead, and now that it's rinsed off, I'm not going to be using, this part of the pepper. So I'm just gonna go ahead and peel it off now, and then get the seeds out, and then we'll move it over and we'll get them all. We'll get the jalapeno cleaned for what we're gonna use, and then get it chopped as well. Now we have our corn, and it's cooling off. And then we have our pepper, and you can see the jalapeno pepper is still pretty steaming. So we're gonna get this all chopped up and into the bowl. But before we do that, we can just go ahead and add in the black beans, because they have now drained. And then they are in. Set that aside. I forgot a few things. It's been a year, and I probably should have got myself a little bit more organized, but this is the first video back since we weren't feeling really well, and so it's just I'm kind of a little scattered, but that's okay. We're gonna get it all in there, and it doesn't matter. I'll have it all. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this pepper chopped up first. And the longer you roast it, the more of a roasted pepper it will become. And so it will be cooked a little bit more. Then I can hear a little bit of the crunch in it, and that's okay. Partly because we are going to be using this as a base for our salad. And so instead of putting it all together, because this gets eaten with lettuce, and so I don't want to toss any lettuce into it right now, just because lettuce will get soggy, and that's not what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna just start with probably about half of the jalapeno, and I'm gonna set it aside. You can smell the heat in it, or at least I can. I don't know if that's normal for people. I have, I can have a sensitive nose. I can smell things that not everybody can, but I can smell the heat in it. So we're just gonna start with a half of it, because you're not gonna be able now, because I charred it, to be able to tell the difference between the jalapeno and the poblano. Not necessarily when looking at it, because all of this, when you assemble your salad, is going to get tossed with salad dressing as well, so it's all going to get coated. So peppers are in. And so there is our peppers and black beans. Now I'm going to cut the corn, and I'm just going to carefully cut down the corn kernel. If you're not careful, it will go splattering. I've seen a couple of tricks where you can put a small bowl into a bigger bowl, put the corn on top, and it'll catch it. As long as you're careful, you can do it this way, and then you're not dirtying up a ton of dishes. We are food prepping, and I want to get things made, but I also don't want to make a huge mess that I have to spend an hour cleaning up either. I want to just be able to feed my family some home-cooked meals, something fresh and still easy, as we're still, you know, not 100%, but we are much better than we were with whatever we had. We still don't even know exactly what we were sick with, but we're, you know, we still get really tired. Fatigue was the worst of it, and so I just want to make it easy, but there is nothing better than a home-cooked meal, and so and we are trying to curb a little bit of our going out to eat, and so by making some of our favorite things, that really helps. So now to our corn, black beans, and peppers, we are going to add in some fresh cilantro. This was one of the things that I forgot to pull out and show you guys. We're just going to start with just a handful because we can add more later. And then we're going to top this with some lime, and then a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And then when it comes to the avocados, avocados turn colors as they're exposed to air, and so depending on when you're going to eat this, you can add the avocado in right away, or if you're going to do it as a base like I'm doing, you can add the avocados in later. So I usually will just cube up the avocados when I'm making it for right then and there and add it to there, but I am actually going to skip that step today because I'm not going to have this today. And so I want to be able to make sure that they don't start to turn colors, but we will be eating this tomorrow, and so I'll just wait till tomorrow to cube it up. So to this, I'll just squeeze in an entire lime. Now you can also add in tomatoes. Oh, okay, well, hold on. That's not wanting to squeeze. Okay, let's try this again. Let's get this one squeezed out. There we go. And the great thing about this dish is it is completely vegetarian, unless you add in a protein to it. So, and you don't have to. This is super flavorful without any protein in it. All right, so I'm just gonna add in a little bit of salt. That's probably more than enough. And I'm gonna give this a good stir, a little pepper actually, sorry. A little pepper. And then I'm gonna give this a good stir. And then I'm gonna get some of those cherry tomatoes, and I'm gonna go ahead and add those in here as well. And that way we can use up some of them. I wanna keep some for my hummus, but it'll be a great little addition. Plus it'll be super colorful for the salad. And it's up to you if you want to get aroma tomato. And that's usually what I would do, but this is just what I bought for the broccoli salad. So I'm just going to cut them in half and then just cut them into smaller pieces, just so there'll be more to go throughout the salad, and it'll help stretch the tomatoes just a touch further. And then I'll still have some for snacking. Okay, and I think that will be good. That's probably about a half a cup, but you can add just one whole Roma tomato to it, and then that way it's going to be good. And then it adds just some really good color to it too, which helps. And I think what I'm going to do, I know I said I wasn't going to add this, but I'm going to go ahead and add one of them to it, and I'll go ahead and make this my lunch today, just that way you guys can see it when it's all done, and that way you know exactly what you're looking for. Just score the avocado and then take the seed out. Just be careful removing the seed. I know there's a couple different ways that you can pop out your avocado or peel it, and so it's up to you how you want to do it. I'm just going to scoop it out because again, this is just going to get cubed up, so it won't matter. Okay, drop that in there. Okay, now that our avocado is added into the bowl, I'm just gonna stir it around. And then you're not going to use all of this for one salad unless you are cooking for a very large family. You're just gonna take what you want and toss it in with your lettuce, and I'll show you guys that in just a little bit. We're gonna let this kind of sit for a few minutes, and then we'll come and taste it and see if it needs any more salt or any additional cilantro or lime. And then we'll make the Santa Fe dressing, which is super easy. It is just ranch and taco seasoning. So let's move on to that to get this assembled, and then we can finish up the sun-dried tomato pasta. Okay, I went ahead and tasted our mixture for the Santa Fe salad, and it's great. I'm not going to add any additional salt to it. I feel like it's just fine because a lot of the flavor is going to also come in with the Santa Fe ranch dressing, and so you don't want to overwhelm it, because you can also add cheese to it, and then tortilla strips, which you will add when you toss your salad or on top of your salad. You never want to add that too early or they'll sog out. It'd be gross. So anyway, so that turned out, and so it's really easy to make the dressing. I'm just going to take some of my homemade ranch, and then I'm going to be adding in some taco seasoning, and that's it. And so it's super easy to do, and because my dressing already has mayonnaise and sour cream in it, it's an easy, quick way to put it together. But if you don't have homemade and you just have bottled, all you have to do is really add in some taco seasoning to it, and that's it. It's really easy to make a Santa Fe dressing. So I'm going to use what I already have instead of making a fresh batch. I was thinking of doing that, but then I want to use what I've got first, and I will be creating a video of just my salad dressings here in the future. I do have one on my chicken wing video where I show you how I make my ranch and my blue cheese, and I will link that below so you guys can check that out if you want to know. But it's really super easy, and I started making this so many years ago and we've never gone back. I don't buy bottled ranch or blue cheese of any kind. I just make it myself. So I'm going to put this together, and then we're going to set this aside and move on to the sun-dried tomato so we can get that one done. And then I can put together the Santa Fe salad for my lunch, and I can show you what that looks like. All right, so I've just got a glass container here that I'm going to use for the Santa Fe ranch, just so I can pull it out as I need it. And so again, this is super simple. You don't need a ton of it, even if you're making it for a party or for a bunch of people or an event or something. You know, you can just use a single batch of ranch and then add in the taco seasoning. And so I would say for a full recipe, you would probably add in 3 tablespoons of taco seasoning. I'm just going to sprinkle because this one is actually a little on the spicy side, which is okay. So I'm going to say maybe a teaspoon. We'll start at that's about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half actually. And we'll start with that because again, I'm just making a small batch just to have, and I can always make more because we keep this on hand all the time. That we're never out of salad dressing in this house. And that's pretty much it. Now do this ahead of time because you'll want time for the flavors to come together for the taco seasoning. If it can sit for at least an hour, you'll be good. Now you could make it right away and just eat it right away and it'll be fine, but the longer it sits, the better the flavors are, and that's it. And so you would just assemble this by putting it all in a bowl, including your lettuce, and tossing it together. But I will show you that when we get to that part of the video. But that's it, super simple and easy to do. Got my dressing put up, so I'm just gonna go ahead and store this Santa Fe salad base in the refrigerator until I get the sun-dried tomato one put together, and this will just have time to chill because again, this base is a cold salad, and so I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the refrigerator so those flavors will come together. But that is it, and that's what you're looking for. And again, when you assemble the salad, you can add cheese and other things to it, but you want the base to at least be this for starting point. But that's it. We're going to get this in the fridge, and then we're going to move on and finish up the sun-dried tomato salad. Okay, the sun-dried tomato has cooled down, so we're going to take some fresh basil. We're going to go ahead and get this chopped up, and I'm actually going to chop up all of this just because it's a double recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off all the leaves, and we're going to get this chopped up, and then we're going to add, we'll take out the portion that's for my daughter, and then that way she doesn't get any of the Parmesan cheese on there, and then we'll get this assembled. So I'm going to get the basil done, and then we'll move on to that. Now when you're doing basil, you want to pull the leaves off individually, just snap them at the ends, and then I'll show you a trick some of you may already know, but for cutting the basil, makes it nice and fine. Now while you're cleaning the basil, you want to pinch off this part of the stem. You don't have to take off this part, you just want to take off, pinch it right, see, there, and pull off the leaf. All right, now that I have all my leaves, sometimes basil will have a bad spot. You can see, hopefully you can see that little bit of black. You can just pull it off if you want to, like that, and it'll be fine. And so I'm just going to get, basically you're going to pick up all your leaves. If you can do them somewhat according to size, it just makes it easier where the biggest ones are at the bottom. And you're just going to stack them together. And by doing this, it allows you, we'll probably do it twice just because I'm using the whole batch of basil. It allows you to roll the basil like this, and then you're gonna, what they call a chiffonade, but you're gonna do a very thin slice on your basil. And then just like that, so then you've got these really thin cuts of the basil, and all of that's going to go into the pasta salad. So we're going to gather these up and do the same thing. These are a bit smaller, so they're going to be harder to roll together. If that happens, that's okay. You just roll to the best that you can and hold it still, and then just slice it up. All right, and then that's it. So now we have our basil into our sun-dried pasta, and then we're going to add in the cheese. Now, well, we're going to stir this first, actually, sorry, and then pull out my daughter's, and then we're going to add in the Parmesan cheese. Now, the original recipe has grated Parmesan, and so our store did not have any, and what they had was actually the shredded. And so I'm going to take the shredded, and I'm going to pulse it in the food processor to get it a little bit finer texture. So now that the basil is tossed in, we're just going to set that aside for a minute. is pretty fine shred. I've not bought this brand before. This is just what Aldi's had, and so a lot of times shredded is the much larger shreds, but this is small, so we don't actually have to make this any smaller. So let me get a container for my daughter, pull hers out, we'll get her set up, and then we'll do the main one. Okay, so I've got a container for hers, and then I am just going to scoop out some of the pasta salad. This is, I think, her favorite set pasta salad, and so I'm gonna add in some of her dairy-free mozzarella cheese, and I think that'll go well with the sun-dried tomato. And so we haven't found a Parmesan cheese that she likes just yet, but you know, that's okay. Okay, so to her salad, I'm just gonna be adding in the mozzarella shreds. She has a little bit left. I've got some more for her, but this is plenty for her salad, and this will give her that cheese aspect of the pasta salad for her to enjoy without having any of the tummy aches that she gets. I can't open the package. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm just gonna add the rest of it in here, and then we'll get this stirred up, and then hers, and we'll check it to see if it needs any more salt, because again, I don't like to add any additional salt until I add the cheese, because with Parmesan cheese, there's a lot of salt. With hers, you know, that's a good, yeah, there's quite a bit of sodium in here, so that should help enhance the flavor, but we'll go ahead and get this mixed up first. We'll start with that, because she can always add in more cheese if she wants it. It's gonna be up to her if she wants to add in some more cheese. And I actually think what I'll do is I'm gonna let this sit before I add any salt to it. I'll let her try it, and then let her decide if she wants some additional salt to it, just because she's used to this cheese, I'm not, and so I don't want to do it the wrong way. So go ahead and add the rest of that in there, and then we'll let this sit. She's working right now, so she can come try this on her break and see. So, but that is her pasta salad with the dairy-free cheese. And again, this is completely vegan, and so, and vegetarian, so this is a great option for those that eat that way. And so this one is done, and now I'm just gonna take ours. And so for ours, I'm gonna toss in about half of the cheese that we have, and I'm gonna stir it around. Because again, I can always add in more if I want to. And normally this is grated, like I said, the original recipe is grated, but that's what I found, and you know what, I'm gonna work with what I can find, and it'll be just fine. Give it a good toss. The oil does like to set at the bottom of the bowl, so you want to make sure that you are giving it a good stir. I'm going to get a fork, and we're going to try this and see if I need to add anything else to it. Okay, so I'm just going to pull out a piece, and I'm going to try it and see if it needs any more salt. It does need some more salt, and so I'm going to add in just a couple of sprinkles. I don't want to add too much because we'll let this sit for a few hours, and then I'll come back and I'll try it again and see if it needs any more. And I'm just going to add a touch more pepper, and then give it a stir. So I'm just going to, because I already put my fork in there once, I'm just going to go ahead and pull out a pasta with the tongs instead. Okay, much better. That's all it needed. So now it needs to chill really well, so those flavors come together, and then they'll be set and ready to go, and then we can eat this. And we will likely eat this. I'm going to cook up, I've got some chicken thawing, and so I probably won't cook that until either later today or tomorrow, and then we can serve this with cold chicken, hot chicken, or whatever, or just eat it. A lot of times I'll just snack on it just like that and have that for lunch. So we'll get this one put in a container, and then that pretty much wraps up the salads. And just got a really nice large container for it, and so this will go in here. This is going to be quite a bit of pasta salad for us to eat, but this pasta salad will last for a week in the refrigerator. So this is the one that's going to last the longest, and so that's great because this is quite a bit of pasta salad, which is what I wanted. I wanted something easy and that's going to last. The Santa Fe one, the base will last as long as you don't add in all the avocados at one time, and so those will be different. The broccoli's one is going to go the quickest, so that's probably the one that we'll focus on first, or in the first couple of days, and then change it up. We can also have these as side dishes to our dinners as well. And so this is the final product, and so this is what it looks like. Hopefully you guys can see that. And so this is going to go in the fridge. Okay, so to my pan I added some olive oil, and I'm just going to cook up the pork real quick that I have. You can trim this up, but they're pretty lean, and so I'm just going to stick them in here, and I'll have to do it in just a couple of batches, but that's okay. And then grab a big enough pan. So we're going to let this start to cook. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to add in some simple, just seasoned salt to it. Nothing, you can do whatever kind of flavors you want, I should say, but I'm just going to do some seasoned salt because I feel like that's just going to be a nice basic seasoning for this pork. Okay, so I've got my lettuce rinsed off, and then it's not completely dry. Now I do have a salad spinner, but because I'm just making this for me for lunch, I'm just going to do this by hand, and the lettuce may still be a little wet, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and get it chopped up. Now if you are serving this for a lot of people, you can use a much larger bowl than just what I'm doing, just so I can eat my own salad, to assemble it. So now that the lettuce is chopped, I'm just going to take my Santa Fe base mixture and then just put some of this in here. And you can do as little or as much as you want. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the chicken that I have that's cooled off, and chop it up. And again, this doesn't even need to have any protein, but it's definitely good to do. I'm just going to top it on there. And again, you can, to keep this completely vegetarian, you can leave it as is. You can also add tofu to it as well. Just season your tofu up and you're good to go. And now I'm just going to add in the Santa Fe ranch dressing. It's had time to sit for, I think it's been a good, probably about 2 hours at least since I've made this. And so I'm just gonna to put a little bit on like that. Then I'm gonna give it a good toss. And you just want to coat everything, and you can see where if you were making this for a group of people, doing this all in a big bowl and then serving it that way is a good idea. But for this, I'm just going to toss it in here like this. get everything coated. And then top it with some tortilla strips, excuse me. They do make seasoned ones as well. And these are salted, but there's a Santa Fe seasoned one. Our local store didn't have any, so I'm just gonna go with these. And that is it. That's all you need to do now. I could put some cheese in here if I wanted to, but I'm gonna leave it as is for now. But that is the Santa Fe salad, and again, so good. So I just want to thank you guys for joining me today as I share these 3 salads with you. They're quick, easy. You can make as little or as much as you want depending on your family size. Plus, it's just a really great way to shake things up a little bit, eat something fresh, enjoy something light, especially as the temperatures start to warm up for some of us. I know not all of us are out of winter yet, but those of us in Florida are definitely heading out of it this week for sure, because it's going to be almost 90 degrees a couple of days. So anyways, thank you guys for joining me. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications to get notified of my next video that should be up in the next day or 2. See you guys later.